I am a classical pianist and a music teacher. And I've been playing piano for a number of years now. And that's what I do.
All right. There was a gentleman on the internet about 8 years ago, and he put up a website on Learn to Play, and it was piano.
Yep.
And last I heard, he was making $800,000 a year.
Yeah, Jermaine Griggs.
There you go.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yep. And our camera woman is Sydney. You want to introduce yourself, Sydney?
I'm Sydney, the youngest. I'm 16. I don't really do anything yet.
Right. She runs the camera. She runs all of our media and all the other stuff. Okay, so kind of the goal of the whole session, we probably have a good insight on this, and is to just kind of talk about, as you said, product creation and really getting into some of the what I call the 50,000 foot view, and then kind of dive down in deep. It's one of the things that I do kind of on an everyday basis. I'll either do it for small businesses or I do it, on my own behalf. And so one of the things that I'm going to kind of tailor it to you since you're here is starting to talk about, so how do you approach this when you can either do the product or talk about experience or expertise or passion. And typically, when you have someone who probably hasn't had the same experience with the internet, probably one of the starting points is, should I be talking about, my passion? Should I be talking about the thing that really drives me? And as you know, one of the things that we've got to determine is whether or not, there's a market for the passion. Expertise tends to be the thing that, although it's not very, what I would call exciting, but it tends to be the thing that we can use to draw people back in as long as we have a minimal amount of passion, is what you and I were talking about today, Lana, is you got a level of expertise when it comes to playing. When you put that in front of people, even though you may not necessarily feel all excited about it all the time, it draws people because of your expertise, and then your experience, which is when you've been able to do something like we've been able to do, when we were house parents. That experience is worth something to people because it's something that people can really use in order to better their lives. So in this case, we've got expertise in being able to raise teenagers, right? We're at Milton Hershey all these years. And so, when we find the right place and find the right market for it, the experience is worth something, okay? So the question then becomes, and since we're a little more advanced, we talk about, so what do people want to know? And of course, there are a number of ways that we could do that. We could go to the Google AdWords keyword tool. We could look at top sellers in Amazon, right? So we could look at the Amazon bestseller list, and we could tell what are people buying in Kindle, because people who are buying things for $2, $3 tends to be the stuff that's pretty popular, right? So we can kind of get a sense for where people are in terms of what it is they want within the subject that maybe we've got some experience, expertise, and passion in. And one of the things that I've been discovering recently is YouTube. And YouTube in particular, because what YouTube gives us is a couple of things. First, YouTube gives us, as Sydney, you and I talked about, is YouTube Suggest, right? So we can type in the first couple of words in the YouTube Suggest, we can see what other people have actually been searching for. And so those words give us an idea of real searches, right? And of course, we can do the same thing in Google AdWords. We can use the Suggest tool, and then we can get a sense for what real searches are. Now, the other thing about YouTube that I like, actually, and you and I have talked about this, Laurel, is that you've got analytics in there, right? And even though analytics are not very, exciting, and some people who are just numbers people, they like to look at them, what analytics tells us is it tells us who's watching, who's watching, tells us how long, and even inside, if we're creating videos, it'll tell us when people get disinterested. So we have a good idea if we're creating a number of videos, who do we resonate with? So we can be inside of a market niche, and at the same time, we can use those analytics to say, hey, who am I really reaching? Who am I really resonating with? Because one of the things that I found out was, my wife would be happy about this, is that 72% of the people who watch my videos are male, right? And they're 35, so I'm turning off women, right? In droves. But those analytics though tell us who's staying around to watch the videos, how long they're staying, and what they're really wanting from us. So determining what people want to know, and then one of the other things that us in particular as marketers, we can kind of find out in places like forums. And we can find out some of those things in forums like, if we're looking at business opportunity, we can look at the Warrior Forum, right? If we are looking at professionals, and you're an offline marketer mostly, we can find that in LinkedIn or Quora, right? We look at the questions that people are answering. And some people use Yahoo Answers. I don't find that to be very reliable, but some people do it, right? So Yahoo Answers does have questions that people are answering. Of course, there are tools that you can buy that'll kind of dig into all those, right? So, in my opinion, there really is no substitute for kind of knowing where you want to go in here, but there are tools that'll dig in there. There's also OMG. OMG ILI, which is OMG, I love it. And OMG ILI tells us, digs into all the forums and tries to give us a bird's eye view of what people are talking about. So if we want to know what the conversations are, right, it may not necessarily tell us what people are concerned about, but it will tell us what people are talking about. So we can get a chance, we can get a sense for what people want to know by all this information. So when we do that, then of course, again, so we'll dig a little deeper since it's just us here. To dig deeper into this information, we want to try to determine what the frequently asked questions are, right? So what we're trying to come out of this with is not just a laundry list. We're trying to determine what are the frequently asked questions. I've got a friend whose son is a knife maker, and so one of the things that I suggested he do was look to YouTube Suggest to kind of get that list, but then determine, okay, what are people really asking for, right? What do people really want to know? And we should be able to come out with a list of frequently asked questions. And then there's a guy, and you're probably familiar with him, Mike Candy, who suggested that we should also do should be asked questions, right? Mm-hmm. So what questions should they be asking? If we have expertise and experience in the area, right? So for instance, I know that my wife used to do videos in a consumer niche, and one of the things that she was able to do successfully is to figure out, okay, what questions should people be asking? And then you kind of answer those questions ahead of time, and then people are then willing to kind of watch, kind of get your reach and watch, right? So, so all these things I think are kind of bottled up in finding out what people want to know. As a piano teacher, Lana, you would want to try to determine what is it that the parents really want? What are they trying to find out about the Suzuki method? If they're not trying to find out about the Suzuki method, what are they really trying to find out about how to help their children? So you want to try to use this information that's already, now, I mean, we could actually talk to people, right? I mean, we could also talk to people, we could actually get to know people, but typically what this information helps us in is because it's free. right? And it's available, and we don't influence it. Because, you know, sometimes if we talk to people, people will kind of steer us in the direction where they're biased. This information is what it is.
I know I had a couple months ago, I bought a software program that scraped keywords out of Twitter.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so if it was, I was looking for SEO business, then I could put that in.
right.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, yeah, and the scraper programs are good because they're based on keywords. And we can kind of determine what people, again, we're determining conversations, right, on Twitter. Okay, so once we have a sense for, you know, what people want to know, what we're looking for then is an intersection, right, between 2 and 3, where we want to know where we can meet this market. Are we going to meet this market on the basis of our experience? Are we going to be, is it going to be better for us to meet it on the basis of our expertise or our passion? And probably in some order, there's no science to figure this out, right? Because sometimes your passion will carry you into figuring out where the intersection is. That's kind of what happened to you when you got into the consumer, you doing videos in the consumer market. Your passion for it met what people wanted to know. You didn't undertake a scientific process, but your passion met people at this place. In some cases where you have this level of expertise, right? I've developed an expertise in being able to do product creation. I've been able to meet people here, right? And so I've done, in terms of doing a workshop, people like those workshops specifically when it comes to product creation. In terms of experience, right? Life experience or job experience, or in some cases, case studies, right? So it sort of gets into copywriting a little bit, but if my experience sort of leads to some significant results, right? Because all product creation starts with a result, right? So the best products, the ones that sell the most, kind of start with, the copy starts with, normal housewife sells $365 billion of something, and then that's really what shots people into making, the time, or investing the time in the rest of the sales letter, right? So we can actually meet people at the point of doing case studies if we understand. Okay, so then what we want to determine is, this is going to give us a broad sense of what we can do to meet the market. And we're going to help people in terms of giving them information. We're going to help people, and in your case, you're going to kind of guide them through a funnel, either to get your services or to sell them a product.
Or create one of my own.
Or create one of your own, right.
Which one of the reasons I'm here today is because I'm interested in getting smarter at leveraging my time. Because as a business consultant, as you know, we are either trading dollars or time. And I go see a client for 2 or 3 hours, there's no leverage there.
There's no leverage there, right.
And that's not the smartest way to go. I would rather have no clients and be making money on the internet than have 10, even if they're working, which they are, but that's where I'd like to eventually get to.
No, exactly right. And one of the things that we have been talking about, our wife and I, is walking into, a scenario where you've got something at every price level in order to sell.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what product creation is, right? So if you consult with somebody, because a lot of times I guess you're not going to close. If you have a 100% closing rate, then you'd be right. then you'd be a gazillionaire, right? But if you have something at every price level to sell, when they walk out of the room, even if it's just a CD or a book, I mean, that product is something that you can walk out of there. And Lana, that would be true for you also, which is not everybody that's gonna come talk to you, even about doing piano lessons, is gonna wanna sign with you. But having something that they can buy, having something, whether or not it's a PDF, a checklist, a guide, or something, means then that your time is leveraged. So all the time that you spend, that also you're spending with clients, your time that you're going to spend with people, talking to them about whatever the case is. Laurel, your time that you spend interacting with other people in the consumer market, you can leverage that time if you've got something, even if nobody buys it right away, if you've got something at every price level to sell, which is what Austin was talking about, you can leverage your time. But, okay, so.
You know, a lot of those newsletters too, and do you mind me interrupting?
Yeah, go.
When they get you involved for $1,
Right,
I mean, they just want you to make that commitment of getting the credit card out.
exactly.
And it's not the money, it's the commitment.
It's exactly,
Yeah.
and so you've kind of signed up by saying,
Right.
I'm willing to pay online.
Right.
That's a great point. So we want to get through all of this information to determine a market niche, right? Or what some people call, I call it a slant. Some people call it a sub niche. So, for instance, if I sell information to people in the business opportunity niche on the Warrior Forum, right, which I do, I could talk about, as some people talk about, local or offline marketing. I could talk about what's called CPA marketing or lead generation.
Mhm.
I could talk